Hello everyone! Okay, welcome to my next set of videos for the sleeve. We've been talking about sleeves this week, and now we're going to get out and really be in real life and look at the actual patterns, and then we're also going to look at the garments that come from the patterns. Previously, in the past two videos, we were on the computer screen again, and we were just kind of talking and going over the gist of the different parts of the sleeve and all the other stuff. So now we're about to look at the real stuff. Now, as you may recognize, this is your basic bodice. This is a front with one dart here, with just the bust dart, and the bust dart has been re-angled basically in order to compensate for the bust point, so that your dart doesn't go all the way to the bust point. And then these are back bodice patterns. I'll move this over. Now we have, the reason why I have two, one has a shoulder dart and the other doesn't. So I would suggest always having both patterns, just because you never know what you're going to be doing with your with your patterns, and you never know where you're going to be, what type of pattern you're going to be basing it off of. So it's good to always keep two updated back bodice patterns, one with a dart and one without a dart. Okie dokie. So we have that. Now if you'll notice, you look here, we have two notches there on the back, and we have one notch in the armhole on the front. Now what is this for? I'm glad you asked. So we'll come over here and we look at our sleeve. I apologize for the tape on it. I was trying to do some editing and going back and forth and whatnot. So, but anyway, it's done now, and it's cool, and it fits really well. So we have the sleeve here. Now, quick tip, if you are drafting your sleeve and you're making it for model, like industry size girls, and you're doing maybe like a 2 to 4 type pattern, make the sleeve 24 inches, and that will enable you, or what am I saying? That will let you have a pattern that is going to go all the way down to her wrist, because if you do one that's like 22 inches, it's not going to fit her. It's going to be too short, and she's going to be looking like she's flooding at her wrist, which is sort of like your ankle. But anyway, so I have this sleeve here. Now let's go back over the parts of the sleeve really slowly so you can understand what it looks like on a real pattern. Now, this is the bicep line. The bicep line is taken by going right up under your deltoid muscle, and I don't have a shirt on right now, so I'm going to kind of show you this. Okay, so if you look at my arm here, hopefully you can see my arm, this is where you would take your bicep measurement, because that's where it is on the pattern. Now normally we know our bicep is right about here, so if you flex, that would be a good place to take the measurement, right in the fullest part. But the measurement on the pattern is going to actually go here. So that's kind of like, you know, it seems like a conflict in terms, but it should be okay. Then your elbow measurement, that's here, but that's not how you're going to get it in your pattern. And then this is your wrist measurement. And usually what you do with your wrist measurement, you'll take the measurement, but you will add about 1 inch or 2 inches in ease. I think it's maybe about, let's say, 1.5 inches to 2 inches worth of ease into the wrist. But there are other ways for finding that out for your pattern, because the way you draft it is a little different. You don't necessarily use those measurements just like that. So alrighty, so we have a dart here, and this is the dart that angles the sleeve, and it makes the sleeve hang or shift slightly forward. Okay, so if you look at this, you can tell it's angled this way just a little bit. Now before this dart is in here, the sleeve actually goes straight down. So if you can tell that it's a little bigger at the bicep line than it is down here at the wrist, the sleeve is just, it's pointed almost, in a sense. And this is the sun coming through. So if you see these lines on this pattern, it's the sun, y'all. So I apologize if you can't see. But this is our center grain line. Okay. That just tells us how the sleeve needs to be placed on the fabric. And it also helps us evaluate the fit and the hang of the sleeve later on. What else? Okay, this is our elbow line. We kind of looked at that. And this is what I call the wrist level. And I call this actual slanted line the wrist line, because that's actually where the pattern ends. So that's what I would call the wrist line. And this is the wrist level. This is your elbow. Now the dart should hit right about the middle of this area. So if you're trying to draft this just off of a little bit of knowledge that you know, that's something that could help you. Put a dart there. Find out about half of this, and that will help you. Find out about half, put the dart there. Open this about an inch or so. Yeah, that's an inch. Yeah. Move this down an inch, and then just draw that like that. So that should help you some. Now there's of course a more detailed way to do that, and I have that available. It's just not available right at the second, at the time I'm recording this, but it will be available later on. So for those of you who want to create a basic block pattern set, this will be available to you later on, and eventually there will be a link at the bottom of this video. But anyway, so we have our front notch here, back 2 notches there, and then we have our centering notch up here. Now if you notice the centering notch in relation to the center grain line, mine is a little bit forward in the front area. So that really, if we imagine the sleeve is connected, that really sits the sleeve a little like that when it's on. Okay? Because this is going to hit the shoulder seam. And so the seam, or the, yeah, that's kind of complicated for me to say. When you match this dart up to the shoulder seam, it should make the sleeve slide a little bit forward. And also, reiterating what I said the other day, this line is what you're going to use to evaluate the fit of it. It should be either hitting right at your side seam, or it should be up to an inch in front of your side seam. Okay, cool. Now, what else can we talk about? We did, okay, the cap ease also. Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, so after doing all these crazy measurements and this and that, okay, this, I don't know if you can see, I have 2 little circles here. That's where the back comes around and ends, and this is where the front ends. So that's where my center notch ended up being. Now, the way that you find this out, just like I said in the previous video, you're going to measure from here on up until you stop at the measurement of your back armhole. And then when you're doing the front, you're going to measure from here on up until you get to the end of the measurement for your front armhole. Then whatever's in between tells you how much ease is in your cap compared to your armholes. And going through different fitting things, you can end up altering your armhole perfectly so that your sleeve fits wonderfully. Now, to show you on this area is the same thing as this area. So it's basically like this. And this is how the sleeve fits into the armhole. Okay? Now, you may be wondering what this extra that's kind of scooped out, because we know the bodice is scooped out like this, but why is the sleeve scooped out like that? This is basically so that you can get a closer fit about here on the arm, so that it fits closely, and then you just get this amount to go up underneath the arm.